everybody, my name's Valerie and you are at Stitchin' in the Barn. I'm calling this Stitchin' in the Barn because that's literally where I have my little sewing setup. Like most craft people, I sort of spilled over everywhere into the house, and eventually we took a sort of fallen down barn on the property and made it into a garage and carved out a little craft space for me. So that's where I like to keep all my goodies and do a lot of stitching. I'm sorry if this is all very choppy and pieced together. It's because I'm very self-conscious, and so I'm saying little sound bites and then I'm going to try and weave them together. But I'll give you a little background. I have been doing crafts and cross-stitching since I was about 5. My grandmother taught me, and I actually at one point worked in a store. It was a big craft store, and they had a cross-stitch section, but I wasn't working there because I have sort of a background teaching. I was doing children's classes, crafting, other stuff, but I longed to be in the cross-stitch area. The problem was that they also did a lot of framing, and I'm not so good at math, so that always frightened me away because you had to be very precise. So I thought, better stay away from the framing. But I would always be, oh, I wish I were down looking at all the patterns and the cross-stitch stuff. I have a funny story about that though, because I remember the first year I worked at the craft store, they had a big contest. They were advertising that it was a cross-stitch contest, and I was so excited about this. I could not wait to see all the pieces that people brought in for the contest, and great excitement. And I remember coming in early so that I could go and look at all the pieces, and then thinking, well, wait a minute, somebody did the same thing. And I went to the girl who worked there and I was like, well, I don't understand. I thought, people were designing their... She said, no. They don't design them. They just execute them. I was like, oh, that was very disappointing to me, because I thought, wow, such fabulous creativity all around me. And I had no idea. And then, realized, well, there were fabulous workmen around me, but they hadn't actually designed the patterns themselves, which everybody laughed at me for thinking they had. But and then I of course appreciated the beautiful work and the beautiful stitching and the framing and things that people had gone to a lot of trouble and did absolutely lovely things, but it was just a surprise. Working with children over the years, I think it's terribly sad how we as adults do lose our creativity. We get stuck in ruts, or we get intimidated or self-conscious. And, it's funny because if I continue to do these, I will find and show you the little stitching basket I was given when I was 5 by my grandmother, because I used to love to play in she had her own sewing room. And it had a lock on the door, which she often forgot to lock, which was a pity for her because I would sneak in. She had this old Elna sewing machine that to me looked like a horse, so I called it the horse, and I would lovingly pat the horse and, of course, play with the dials on the horse. So I was changing her tensions all the time and messing with the needles. And so for my 5th birthday, I was presented with this little sewing box that was an indication, this is yours, you may play with this and stay out of my stuff. But inside there was this little printed cross-stitch chart. It was a little girl looking in a mirror, and it showed, it had printed on there the X's you were meant to do, and I did a certain amount of that. And then if I find the piece, I'll show it to you. It's very funny because I still have it. There's this big gnarly flower stitched in the corner because I clearly got tired of stitching the lines. I'm like, no, I want to do my own thing. And then I realized, when I got back into cross-stitching in my 20s, I was slavishly following all the instructions. And truthfully, it was not until very recently, and I think the discovery of Flosstube, that I realized, hey, you do what you like. You can mess with the patterns, you can mess with the colors, you can mess with the background fabric, or I was a slavish called for follower. And I think that's one of the things that Flosstube has helped me with, is learning, there are no rules, there are no police, anything goes, do what you like, be happy. I should tell you a little bit about how I discovered Flosstube. I had gone online trying to find some sort of instructional video about how to finish yourself, because I had this wonderful friend, April, who used to finish all my things for me, and she sort of was semi-retired from doing this, and so I thought, well, I probably should learn to do some of this myself. So I went online, and lo and behold, I found Miss Vanna Pfeiffer, the Twisted Stitcher. Hooray! And just thought, what phenomenal talent, and what a gift to everyone that she just showed you how to do all this stuff. So I thought, this is fabulous. And then I started watching her videos, and she was funny, and I really enjoyed visiting with her. And she started talking about the Flosstube, and I was like, what is Flosstube? You know, and what is she talking about? And all these people she'd referenced by name. And so I started exploring, and it opened up a whole delightful world for me. You know, and I have thought about doing this for a long time, probably a year I've been thinking about doing this, but, you know, I grew up with this very sort of Victorian British grandmother who had this favorite phrase, which was, never show fools and children unfinished work. You know, we came from a long line of perfectionists, and so the thought of showing a work in progress was really quite horrifying to me. But, you know, I realized how much fun I have seeing everybody else's, so I thought, well, you know, I would like to get in on the fun too. And also with her, you know, talking about yourself and your accomplishments was very much discouraged, so it kind of felt like bragging to me a little bit, but I think I'm over that now. I just enjoy, you know, I love seeing what you guys are doing, and I want to join in the fun, so I thought, why not? Plus, I made a list, you know, things I've gained from Flosstube, besides tremendous knowledge and techniques, which have been hugely helpful to me. I mean, I have been stitching for years and years and years, and there's so much more I've learned in this past year just watching Flosstube. It's amazing. I would say definitely it's opened up a new fearless approach for me, sort of getting back to the idea that it's okay to change things and please yourself, you know. Tons and tons of inspiration, and of course with that goes enabling, which is not a good thing always, but you know, I just love seeing all the things people are working on, and how everybody's choosing different things or different ways to do things. And I also love when people take you on tours of their local needle workshop, which I will try and insert. I have this very, very bad little video that I shot. We have a local bus company who does a once-a-year bus tour. It's a cross-stitch bus tour, which is pretty funny. I get on this bus, and we lurch along to one of my favorite stores, which is a little over an hour away from me, called the Strawberry Sampler, near Kennett Square in Pennsylvania. And I love that shop. I love the people in it, and have a great time. And I would never have found that without the bus tour. And then we lurch along to this hilarious smorgasbord near Lancaster called Shady Maple, which is like one of these all-you-can-eat places. So I never thought I would enjoy this, but I really do, because I go with a group of my friends who used to work at the craft store, and we just have a blast. And the food is actually a lot better than you would expect from one of those places. And they have this huge gift shop down below. They give us way too much time in that store, but anyway, it's fun. And then we go along to another L&S, which is near Reading, called Stitch and Stuff. And so that's always, it's a really fun day, and then we come home. So that's been really fun. And I love it when people take you on tours of shops that they go to as well. And also with Flosstube, I feel like I have these friends that, you know, have a common interest, even though I've never met any of them. I hope to someday, but it's just a lot of fun. Maybe before I talk too much, I should show you some stitching, because I know that's why people watch these things. I've decided I think I'll just show you some of my works in progress. I'll do, you know, previous finishes another time or other times or whatever, but for now I'll just show you all my whips, which are too many for me, but I'm pretty much monogamous, I think, in my heart, but I managed to have quite a lot of things started, so. This one is pretty old start. It's Birds of a Feather Happy Heart Sampler, and it seemed different from the dye lots that I was working with. So I kind of lost heart with it because it wasn't coming out with the feel that I wanted. I just fell in love with the sort of old Fractor Pennsylvania-ness of it. And I thought about messing with the colors, and I did lighten up one of the blues because it was so dark. But I think I may pull out some of the messing around I did and just finish it with what I had. It's time. I've had this a long time. So I've got a lot of it done. But the next whip that I want to show you is Teresa Kogut Ho Ho Ho. Love him. The thing with her patterns is there's a ton of coverage. So I think somebody just recently, maybe it was one of the country stitchers, or I can't remember who was saying it. Anyway, they were suggesting this is a good project. If you do the outlining, you can then take this on a trip, or if you're going to a meetup or something where you don't want to be counting. These are great ones to do. Mystery linen again, I'll try and link below if I can figure out what these were on. I'm going to start paying attention to that and writing it down, but up to now I have not. So here he is. Ho ho ho. The thing is, the linen that I chose was a little bit lighter than what Teresa had used. Hers was yellowier and mine was creamier. So you really couldn't see the smoke. So I outlined it with this variegated color in here, which I think is good. I saw on the Joan and Kelly show that Joan had taken a copic marker and gone around, which I thought was a cool idea. I don't know how, you know, how good that is for your linen or whether that matters, but I'm not sure that I like the way I did this. I think maybe I should have just gone around one side and not the outside as well, or whatever, to give it sort of depth. You know, like if you were an artist and you were doing that cross-hatching shading to give it dimension, you probably wouldn't go around both sides. So I don't think I went around this side here, but I don't know. So that's all that's held me up, because I couldn't decide if I liked the way this side looked or if it was too outliney and I should take this out. So I haven't done this side. And it's been languishing all this time. I thought I was going to have him for Christmas, but I didn't. I'm not sure if I want to frame him or do something fun with him or stuff him and make him stand up. I'm not sure yet. So that's him. Then the next one is Blackbird Designs 'Tis the Season, which I joined in on the SAL. I do know this linen is a Picture This Plus Highland, which I love. But I had a lot of trouble deciding where to place this. You know, should I put it on a less busy part of the fabric, or should I put it on a really deeply dyed piece? I ended up putting it in the very palest bit, which I don't know why I did that. And also this is a 32 count, and I was thinking in my head that I wanted it to look kind of primitive. So I just did one thread over two, but I'm like, is that enough coverage for me? I'm not sure. I think it is gonna look primitive, and he does look like a cardinal, although my husband said cardinals don't have tails like that. Oh well, but I don't know. I was really enjoying stitching with this. I got those Victorian Motto sampler threads, and those are lovely to work with. But I just am hesitant about where I placed it in the fabric, and if I like the one thread coverage. So I'm not sure. So that slowed me down on that one, which was a shame. Then I'm doing the little glitter houses, the new series that's come out, and I had thought maybe to do it as one big piece, but then I had this idea that I'm going to try and finish them on little blocks and stand them up with real little putz houses tucked in amongst them, something like that. That's my thought anyway. So this is number 1, and it's on this sparkly fabric, which is fun. I've never used that. And here's number 2, and I'm waiting for number 3. You know, it's funny, I am ornery enough that stitch-alongs are usually not appealing, but they kind of are. But, you know, part of me is like, I don't want to be doing what everybody else is doing, but then part of me is like, oh, but that's so pretty, and it's fun to have, you know, to work along and get encouragement from other people. So I usually end up doing them, but I am ornery, I will say that. And that's one thing that if I were going to be critical, I would say I don't like about Flosstube, which is that everybody's doing the same things all the time, but you can't help it because you get inspiration, you see these lovely things, which is great for the designers, you know, that we're all out there showing what we're working on and people are like, ooh, I want to do that. So yeah, it's all good, I guess. I will tell you Flosstubers that I enjoy watching. Vana, if she would ever make another video, I would love to watch. Just Keep Stitchin', Saltbox Stitcher, Primitive Stitcher, Kitten Stitcher, Kindred Stitcher, Farm Girl, Pretty Southern. I think she's on a knitting kick for now, so we may not see so many videos from her, which is too bad, but as a fickle crafter myself, I understand you get a bug for something and you just can't stop, and then sometimes the muse leaves you for a while. That's okay, she'll be back. Jen Stitchin' Niche, Flannel Jammy's Farm, Joan and Kelly, Country Stitchers, Lost in Floss. I think Country Stitchers must be fairly close to me because I'm not far from Lancaster, so that'd be fun to see them sometime. Of course, Priscilla and Chelsea too, they have been huge in teaching me that there are no cross-stitch police. I guess that's the best. They're funny too, but I enjoy them a lot. I also really like when the designers make videos. Like I know Beth Twist and Paulette Stewart and Not Forgotten Farm, and Teresa Kogut now is doing videos, which I think is great because I love finding out what their inspiration is and what their thought process was when they were creating. I think that's fascinating. So that's some of the things I'm doing. I have some others that I'm working on as well. I'm doing this little Santa guy at the moment. You know, Santa Claus come into town. Just for fun. And then I have some big projects that I usually stitch in hand, but I have put those in frames just because they were so big. They were sort of unwieldy. And so, but I mostly stitch in hand, I would say. But anywho, this is fun. Maybe I'll do this again. Maybe not. We shall see. But until then, bye.